Because essentially we were saying before on the podcast, like, is this working now? It should be fucking working. Hang on. Is it not working?
Maybe
What the fuck?
we've got some weirdos that think breakfast food is a good alternative for any time of day.
Breakfast at night does kind of hit different sometimes, but you shouldn't do it all the time.
Or at all.
I've occasionally eaten cereal at night as a sort of late night snack, which is probably not
Cereal
good for me,
is a
but-
staple. Like, I came home at like 9 p.m. and I'm tired and I don't want to make food. Let me just pour myself a bowl of cereal.
Yeah.
Ironically, I haven't eaten cereal for breakfast in a good 15 years. But I keep a box handy, and
Alright,
that's
we
about
are
the only time I
fucking
use
live again.
it.
It just took forever to fucking show that we were live
I
again.
haven't owned a box of
Live
cereal
that whole
in
time?
20 years. So it's like,
Yeah.
not my thing. I don't want to eat mushy blobs.
I guess I'll
Well,
turn
eat it fast enough and it won't get fucking soggy, you moron.
Or I just not eat it at all.
I can't believe
Or
nonsense
I meant to do. What about porridge, guys? Are you any porridge fans here?
What's porridge? Is that like cream of wheat?
like
I
oats,
think
like
last I
crushed oats,
checked, when I was
oat
speaking with
flakes.
Francesca about
Yeah, it's like,
this,
you know,
I think you call that
oatmeal
oatmeal.
kind of things
Oatmeal!
that we
Oh,
have
I love
over here.
oatmeal.
Yeah.
That would be
Okay.
yes. then.
Because back in the day, I was going to do a video for Lotus Eaters for this about like how to make porridge, and it was going to be like the 3-layer porridge method, which is the first layer is demerara sugar, and then you got the
What do you mean,
porridge, and then the
you
third layer is demerara sugar. And I was gonna, but that was back when we were doing like annoying videos to piss off Carl.
Well, I'm
and
still
it's,
doing annoying
back
videos to
during
piss
the
off
carb
Carl.
crusade days.
We need to work on your comedy there, Harry.
I'm just
We're
trying to
gonna-
annoy
we're-
people.
But like, it's not
I
funny.
don't know,
Like,
really-
you can annoy people to be funny, but like, it has to be funny in the annoying act. You see?
Yeah,
Look.
the thing is, Harry, you are most funny when you're trying not to be funny. When
Yeah.
you're just being yourself, people find you funny. I don't mean like, I mean they are kind of laughing at you, but generally, like you come up with amusing things to say, but you don't usually pre-plan it. So I don't know how else to really describe it to you.
Well, I'm not gonna make. Essentially, I came up with this idea because Zenchan's doing like he explained the different Primarchs in Warhammer. I
I mean,
thought it'd be fun.
Deadpan Harry is much funnier than Try Hard Harry.
Anyway, because he's doing that, I thought it'd be kind of fun because last I checked, Carl once said that he's a fan of the Street Fighter series. I thought I'd make video comments trying to condense the lore of the different Street Fighter characters from across the games, the anime, cartoon, manga, comics, and movies. Somehow condense it into 30 seconds. And that's going to be difficult, but it's entirely possible.
I was up for it until you said you were gonna take like you were gonna look at Guile, and then you were gonna look at it not just in the games, but in the movies.
No, they're all canon. That's the thing. They're all fucking canon.
Well, yeah, but that's just so. Oh, no, that's fine. I could see it from like taking the book and then doing it, or taking the game and then doing it, but then and fitting that into 30 seconds. But then taking
You'd be
like
surprised. The
formats.
character who I don't think I can condense into 30 seconds the most is definitely Dan, because
I don't know who that is. So,
he's basically the
it's-
Joker
no,
character, who's the weakest one.
I just
It sounded like Shadow talking from a deep, dark hole.
What?
Oh,
I wasn't saying anything.
He was just
Yeah.
listening.
Oh, I thought you were.
Also,
Harry, I think what you've done there is you've stumbled upon what isn't a terrible idea, and then you've made it infinitely more complicated by going, well, I'd like to talk about this character, but I've got to look at the 4 completely different media.
no, not really, because I'm
contents he
just going to
comes from,
essentially...
and then try
I'm
and-
just...
But it's you just because what you're doing is I think you're aiming for perfectionism, saying, well, I can't talk about this person unless I reference everything, and in
No, I'm
doing
not going
that,
to reference
you're
everything.
ruining
I'm
the
going to give
chances
a
of it
brief
ever working.
summary of all of the lore. Because if I were,
Well, yeah, well, yeah.
because
That's the same
I'm
thing.
saying I'm gonna have to
That's the same
summarize
thing.
it.
Yeah, but you can do that with the 40k Primarchs because there's some sort of because there's lots of written about them. It all falls into generally most things don't wind up against other things. Like it all sort of makes sense, so you can sort of do that. But you from what you've described there, I mean, that just sounds like a shower of shit. It sounds like it's going to go terribly, or you're
Yeah,
going to
well,
have to speed run it, like so no one will be able to hear what you're saying.
oh, don't you worry. I've already got the first one recorded. We're, we're covering the big bad himself, M. Bison, the first one. The man who literally weaponizes his soul.
Why don't you send that to one of us or something, and then we can give you some notes or something? And don't do
Alright.
that thing where no matter what we say, you then just post it the next day anyway, because that's kind of pointless.
Ouch.
What? I'm just tell me that didn't happen, and I mean that's a long time ago, but I'm
That was
trying
when
to
we were still on
recollect
the
it, but yeah.
Sultans. Like, that's a long
Yeah.
time ago now. Is that coming up to near a year?
What one?
When we were still on the Sultans?
Yeah, but what
Well,
video?
Well, I don't remember the specific one, but I know he posted a couple of the videos he was going to post, and then there was one particular one where I remember everyone said, "No, Harry, that's a terrible idea. That video is a terrible idea." And then, sure enough, next day it was on the Lotus Eaters anyway. And you're like, because like people were like, "No, that's terrible, and here's why, and here's what you can change."
I'd already
And then
posted by that time, to be fair.
Yeah, but it's pointless. What's the, like you? So if you're going to ask for feedback, the point is that you wait out, and then because someone might actually genuinely give you, but maybe you make a terrible mistake, and someone points it out, and you're like, oh, I'm going to have to reshoot this. But no, you just go straight into it, and then that's another way of you basically saying you don't care what other people think. So why did you ask their opinion? Especially if the everyone's opinion is the same, which doesn't happen very often. I can't remember what the example was, but I know there was at least one where everyone was like, "No, to Harry, that's terrible."
It sounds
And I can't
familiar.
remember what feedback you got on the Lotus Eaters, but I suspect it was the same.
It sounds familiar, but I can't remember for sure.
No.
But
Oh.
I think essentially because shit didn't work, my instant connection decided to commit seppuku. Because this fucking laptop is so crap. I'm gonna close this tab.
Yes.
Oh, what the fuck? Speak Up for Women controversy billboard removed. Major apologies. Okay. I can remember looking at the headline. Oh, for fuck's sake! The nativity colours of the fucking trans bullshit. Lower Hunt's mayor has apologized after saying controversial group Speak Up for Women could hold one of their events in council waste bin.
I mean, I see no problem with this.
I fucking knew someone was gonna say it. I'm just there, it's like, I'll just wait for someone to fucking say it. Just someone say it for me. Meanwhile, one of the group's billboards has been taken down from one of Go Media's central Washington sites.
Wellington.
That's what I get for trying to speed that and end up making a bush of it by mistake. Ah. Yeah, burns the back of your throat 'cause it's still hot. These developments come on the same day as Wellington City Council will light up the Michelle Flower Centre in the colours of the transgender flag, timed for when the groups hold up an event there. Speak Up for Women poses amendments in the bill enabling people to self-identify their sex, their birth certificate, without going to the family court. Oh, well, that's going to end really fucking well, and that is a trend that needs to just fucking die. And suddenly, I can't believe this, but I'm now agreeing with the woman movement.
Just on the
I didn't agree with
identify
what you
as
said, I just
whatever
thought the
on your
insult was
birth
pretty good.
certificate. that just makes no legal sense. That's like
Exactly, and this whole
if you go and change your name, it's got to go through a court order or any of this other shit.
And how many
But,
times have we
no.
had the situation where the rapist decides suddenly that they're a woman and goes to a woman's prison, and then suddenly there's a lot of rape in the woman's prison, and the women's need a lot of abortion or birth control or some kind? How many times does this keep happening? Can this just fucking stop? This is depressingly annoying. It's like there's cringe annoying that I do, and then there's whatever the fuck this is.
Yeah. This is just people trying to throw out rules for anybody but themselves.
Yep. It's literally a case of the only rules that apply to me are the ones that I fucking make up as I go along. It's just the leftist like bullshit of just making up the shit as they go, and just the rules just constantly changing, and they're never giving a shit about it. What was that?
You just say shit as they go.
Making up shit as they go. But
Well, there's not much of a difference.
dropping it too.
There's not much of a difference. It is leftist, let's be honest now. There's not much of a difference when you think about it. The group has been called anti-trans and transphobic, something they reject. No, you should embrace this. You should completely embrace this.
Yes, we believe in reality.
Exactly. It's like a case of, oh my god, you're transphobic. You're anti-trans. Yes, I am. Moving on. Next question, please. Oh my god, you're evil. Look at my server name. Yes, we are evil. Moving on. Explain to me why I'm wrong. Recently, the High Court ruled one of the group's events should be allowed to go ahead at Pallaston North City Library after the council cancelled the booking. The judge said the group cannot rationally be described as a hate group. Well, hate is good at this point. Like, I'm sorry, but have you seen hate speech laws? Hate is good at this point. Fight me on this.
Hell, it's not
Use
even
your
hate.
hate.
Yes!
Indifference.
The League of Evil, as the server is called. The leftists want to be there all day and night, talking about how they're the superheroes, how they're the good you know what? Fine, fuck it, yeah, sure you are, and we're the League of Evil. Fuck you. Oh, hi Vulcan, I saw you there. You can turn off your mic. You can turn on your mic if you want to join. We're talking about your favourite topic, retardation.
Dragons? What?
No, not
Not a
sheep.
retard, yeah, but only take these three
No,
edibles.
your
so
other
I can
favourite
really look
topic.
good there.
Your other favourite topic. We might get to trains if you start posting train stuff hard enough. I don't know.
I'm definitely just not posting trains hard enough. It's gotta
Oh,
be it.
you gotta post it in the podcast stuff, the news stuff, and then suddenly I do it.
Oh,
Vulcan's
Right, okay.
clearly gone flaccid about trains.
I just mentioned the word steam or engine, and it's just a case of just 200% excited or something. He just suddenly his attention suddenly becomes to the chat immediately. If you mention the word trains 3 times while looking in the mirror, he appears behind you.
With his great
I don't
big
think
bushy
people
beard.
would quite enjoy that. I mean, I don't know whether it's the soft touching or the beard that shocks them most.
It's a Velcro gloves I wasn't ready for, Vulcan, I'm not going to lie.
That's so. Forgive me, but what is this? Some Christchurch City Council something?
Yeah. Basically, there's a women's group that I immediately said, well, I by default disagree with them, but it turns out no, they're anti-trans, and so they actually accept reality and stop wanting to have people just identify and say I'm a woman now, and then have the legal protections of a woman, even if they're a 6'7", what's it called, really buff, bearded, fucking, you know, the kind of like steroid-looking thing. Like, even if they look like that, it's just like, I'm a woman. It's like, okay, all right, we're going through the female prisons getting raped again, are we? Kind of bullshit. That shit, the shit like that
It's
needs to stop.
ma'am.
Yes, that guy as well.
Yeah, brilliant.
If none of you have heard of this,
Slashing demons.
yes, Slaneshi Demons. If none of you have heard of this, because Bleach has just reminded me of this. There is this video game, I believe it's on Steam, called Acquitted, and the Hello.
What?
Hold on.
Okay, Granddad.
Oh, see.
Yeah, all this train talk got Granddad hot and bothered too.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Thanks, Granddad. Okay, thanks. Awkward timing as always.
Vulcan, do you have the Thomas the Train pocket pussy?
Anyway, sorry about that. That was fuck. What was I just saying? Something that's But that was it. There's this game called Acquitted, right? Where you play as very obviously Carl Rittenhouse, and the idea is that you're acquitted from your trial, and so you go outside, and outside there are the brain deads who are effectively zombies, political zombies that are all based on different SJW stereotypes, and one of them is one of the brain deads is definitely it is ma'am, like that one is just basically just a beefy tank that just absorbs fucking bullet sponges and everything. So that's the thing. Oh my god.
You mean it's ma'am?
Yes. I've not played too much of Acquitted, but it's a fun game, and that fucking thing will just absorb your fucking bullets. It just does not give a shit. It's there to just eat your bullets like a whore. Okay.
Reminds me of the Dark Elder, because they get pleasure from every kind of sensation. So the most severe of sensations, like, I don't know, corrupting your children, that really makes them horny.
Well, they are coming for your children after all.
This is why Slaanesh needs to be genocided. Like the Emperor kept on saying that this Slaanesh cults are a slippery slope, and everyone rejected the message in the. But it turned out he was right.
So
No. What he did, Harry, is he said they didn't exist, and then it turns out they did exist, and that's when because the idea was that if they exist because people believe in them. So if you try and convince everyone that they don't exist, then they won't exist. But until you get to that point, they do exist, and then people aren't aware of them, and it's a double-edged sword.
I never took you for a Warhammer fan until now.
Yeah, it's the Imperial truth. So if you look for them, the idea is if you look for them, because there was the reason why the Emperor never told his sons about the demons either, and then some of them were somewhat put out when they found out about the demons. And the argument is if you found out about them, some of you would look into them in order to find out how to combat them, and in doing that, you would end up falling to chaos. Whereas the only way to go about it was to not tell you about them, and if you had to fight them, you had to fight them, and some of you would fall to chaos anyway, potentially. So that's the argument. It's not a great argument, to be honest, but I see the idea behind it, because the idea is obviously some of them would be like, in order to know your enemy, you have to study your enemy, and in doing that, you end up becoming tainted by the thing that you get tainted by the ideology, and at that point you become part of the problem.
Yeah.
And that's what he was trying to avoid, and that's what he didn't avoid, and that's why he's been on the Golden Throne for 10,000 years as a dusty doorstop.
Poor Emperor.
That sounds really heretical. A dusty doorstop, is that what you call our gracious Emperor?
Heresy!
I'm so. What just happened?
Somebody screamed heresy.
He's a sentient dusty doorstop. Does that help?
No.
The people
Lewis
sacrifice
Hamilton's
a lot
fuck
of people too. So there we go. So yes, you. The problem is, Harry. What I'm getting at, Harry, is you can't genocide an idea. You can try, many people have.
I mean,
Um,
not with that attitude, you can't.
no. I'm pretty sure Jordan Peterson warned us about people like you.
Yeah.
But never would.
I'm just going to be honest. You can't genocide an idea with that fucking attitude. But no. Joking around aside. What's it called? Anyone mind if I have a bit more of a go at reading at this Christchurch bullshit?
Yeah, your reading's terrible. Can Carr breathe instead?
He's
Okay.
working. You can. Do you want to take over then, or shall I keep going?
No, it's fine. Dunedin and Christchurch City Councils have both previously refused to allow the group to hold meetings in public facilities, but following the court decision, the meeting at Auckland's Town Hall went ahead as planned. Lower Hutt Mayor, God, they've got some weird names. Campbell Barry posted on Facebook last week, if this group needs a venue in the hut, I've got some nice new waste bins they can use. That's a bit. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have to be the good guy, but it doesn't mean he, even bad guys have good insults sometimes. The Free Speech Union made the complaint against the comment. Hold on. Just,
Yeah.
right. The Free Speech Union made a complaint against the comment.
What?
What was their complaint? Hopefully their complaint wasn't you're hurting my feelings. Because presumably the answer to that is, well, yeah, but I have freedom of speech and I can say what I like.
What
Yeah,
is-
but making a complaint about a comment is challenging it. You can tell them. That's the point of free speech. Is like that. That's them challenging
Barb,
it.
don't you know that hate
I'm not
speech
saying
is
you're not
free
allowed to
speech?
say it.
That's fair. Okay. Yeah, no, you're right. They have. Yeah. I guess it depends what they. I guess they're not challenging his ability to say those things. Yeah. Okay. Union spokesman Jordan Williams said the comment was discriminatory. Well. Okay. So the best thing there would be the guy to go ahead and then list a bunch of other groups that he didn't like who could also take meetings in their waste bins, and then that way he could get around the problem, especially if he'd said it previously. Elected officials need to get with the program. Free speech matters and the law requires it. They cannot use public office and local facilities as personal serfdoms to discriminate against political views they do not like. Yeah, fair enough. That's interesting. Barry apologised if Speak Up for Women felt offended by his comment. He said the right to meet, speak and debate was important, and his comment was in response to some supporters of the group making derogatory and harmful comments towards transgender people, which again, i.e. freedom of speech. But they made comments about reality to mentally disturbed individuals. In terms of my belief, I do not support the views of this group and harm that members within it promulgate. Of course, harm being that amazing word that means everything and nothing simultaneously. Barry said, while this was his personal view, he had no decision-making authority about the use of the council's venues, which was ultimately a matter of the staff. Yes, but if your boss holds a certain view that he makes public to all and sundry, right, that's going to have an effect on the willingness of his staff in order to keep their jobs or maybe get promotion next year to make the right decision when it comes to not booking someone in. That's clearly how that works. In Wellington City, a Speak Up for Women billboard has been removed by the CBD today, which I'm assuming, whatever that is. Do you want to scroll down, Harry?
Yes. Will do.
Cheers, dude.
Too far, or is that not the right amount?
Okay, women, adult human, female. Ah, excellent. The best billboard in the world. Do you want to scroll down a bit further?
I already like these people already.
It's just a. In a statement, Go Media General Manager Simon Tigel said it was removed as soon as the company started fielding calls from offended New Zealanders. We believe the billboard could be in breach of the Advertising Standards Authority Code. Well, surely that's for the Advertising Standards Authority Code authority to investigate. Not him. Not because surely Oh no, they probably have a thing in their contract that says even though you've paid for that billboard space, if you don't, there's probably some sort of clause that says like, under any circumstances we can take it down without notice or something, which is probably bullshit. But it's probably still some challenges. It wouldn't matter. The contract with the advertiser was on hold until there was a clear determination from the authority. Yeah, but you've already taken action before the authority's given. It's bizarre, just bizarre. Go Media is an inclusive, locally owned New Zealand business, and we support all communities. Okay.
Oh no.
Well, so I'm waiting for
noticing
the
these links, Bleach. Damn it.
Well, I'm just. That's really interesting. So I'd be interested if another group comes forward with a Love is Love, the Paedophiles for Life group, Love is Love poster. See if that one goes up.
It probably would.
see if
Let's be
they-
honest about this.
See if that, yeah, exactly. It's the same. It's the same, but different. So, it's amazing. These people. And we have an intermission.
Oh shit! I didn't mean to. I left that on.
Brains?
I left that on there too. Damn it! I didn't realize I hadn't moved it. I'm such an idiot.
What was it? What happened?
I didn't realize I
It's
hadn't.
Vulcan porn.
Just called Vulcan porn. You know what?
Based-
When I actually get round to giving time segments for each episode, I'm just going to put the train section of each episode is just called Vulcan porn. Thanks for that idea.
Yeah, if you do that, we'll have some very disappointed Star Trek fans entering chat, I think.
Hold
Oh,
on a
yeah,
second. That's
then you're going to
exactly
do
which way
a
you
Star
spell
Trek
Vulcan.
segment.
Say that again, both of you.
So, my thoughts is, now I read a lot of old books, and all these old books have one thing in common. They generally focus on virtues and morals. So it's like the current one I'm reading, which is The Habits of Old Society. Sorry, The Habits of Good Society. And this reminds me of that problem, which is societies don't tend to focus on their morals or their virtues anymore, which I think is why we're getting to the problem that we're getting.
Well, I could
perhaps-
tell you why, but it would upset some of the atheists here.
Well, no. So I'm skipping over the obvious answer, which is we've got a bunch of SJWs running around and doing what they want. I think the problem started far before that. I think the problem started when we got to such a stage where we didn't have to worry about virtues and morals because we just had everything on a plate. If you want something, you go down to the supermarket and you buy it. No problem.
It's a case of these days people are so squeamish, and I'm gonna have to get the squeamishness out of Francesca specifically because it annoys me when it comes to just people so squeamish when it comes to meat, and that fucking needs to stop. And people just there's like a case of we don't need to worry about food shortages because we can just buy meat from the store. Well, where does the meat come from? From the store. It's like fuck off. That shit as well. It's stuff like that. People don't know where they're fucking. People are too squeamish. They don't know where food comes from, and it fucking pisses me off.
No, they don't. I mean, hell, if
Yeah.
people would just get back to a small garden, that would solve a lot of that squeamishness and a greater appreciation for how hard it is to get
Bless
usable
you.
crops.
Bless you.
Bless you again.
Yeah.
Gesundheit.
Yeah. So that's one of my thoughts.
Bless you. You're feeling a bit
No, I think
unwell
it's
there,
also
mate.
because-
No.
Bless you. I think it's also because parents haven't drilled this into children, which I think is another one of the problems.
Well, you have to go back to the baby boomer generation who rebelled against their parents' evil ways, aka morals and standards, and went with the free love movement bullshit and all that.
It's like,
So,
I'm sorry, but
I'm-
these tried and tested methods and morals and virtues that might not have sort of like a scientific backing behind them per se, but have been tried and tested for the last couple thousand, possibly million years.
Million. What?
Well, okay, I'm exaggerating the
Maybe
emphasis
not a
because
million.
humanity's not actually that. Humanity's not as old as that, but you get what I'm saying. I sometimes exaggerate the point of something. Apologies, I shouldn't do that. It's a case of obviously they know what they're doing. It's like you're not smarter than all of combined human history, but these people just you know the ego death of culture concepts I came up with. It's that their ego's so great they think they're smarter than all of human history, and that they don't need any of these morals. They can make their own. It's not that simple. It's not that easy.
and
not
that's why the hippies should have been dealt with much harsher at Kent State.
With a lot of Fed posting.
Oh no, they should have been gate kept.
Yeah, it takes a lot more than that to get filthy hippies out of the way.
It should have been rifles and batons.
And their parents just saying, "Nope, you're cut off. No more money for you, you loser."
It's like the thing of hippies is like the thing that really annoys me with them just the fucking stereotype of like, oh, I don't want to work, just want to chill. It's like a case of, all right, so how are you going to afford a house? It's like, oh, everything will be fine. So you're
Well,
not
it
going to
reminds
work,
me of,
are you?
So I was listening to the Lotus Eaters run through of Brave New World, and it reminds me of when the Savage came back to this, brilliant, lovely world where it had everything super cheap, and he just turned around and was like, everything's too inexpensive.
Everything's too easy. Why is this the Eldar society before they created Slanesh?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like I know
Well,
that each of the different factions in Warhammer are meant to be like essentially something taken to the most exaggerated degree, but humanity is unironically turning into the pre-Slanesh Eldar society, and I fucking hate it. 'Cause it fucking pisses me off just how much fucking degeneracy there is in the world.
Come on. You'd love a Shuriken rifle. Tell me you wouldn't. Like,
No.
Shurikens and a rifle combined. That sounds awesome.
I have no idea what you're even talking about now.
Warhammer.
Lost.
The standard
I gathered that.
The standard Elder rifle is basically imagine a gun, a gravity gun that uses like inverts gravity to shoot things, like a railgun that uses a sort of gravity inverter instead of
So the
instead of
gravity
magnets,
gun
right?
from Half-Life.
But they,
Yes,
yeah,
but it fires
that-
shurikens.
it's supercharged, yeah, but it's loaded with shurikens that fire at ridiculous rates. That's their standard. That's their standard sort of weapon.
The thing is,
well, actually, no, I think
I
it's
can
above their
already
standard
see
now.
a way to
Yeah.
make this a better weapon, and it's don't use shurikens. You just fire a fucking concrete brick instead.
Well, ironically,
The size
when
of
you think
someone's
about
head, it just goes straight through your stomach, taking out the
It's
spine
actually,
as it
when you
goes.
think about it, because the shurikens are going to be a couple of inches wide, it actually must be quite hard to miss, or harder to miss than because you have all the advantages of a wide caliber over the larger caliber without any of the drawbacks of the because it's obviously the thing you're shooting is incredibly thin, but it's not particularly round, so like it's not the diameter of it coming towards you is quite small, so it's it's an interesting concept, I think.
I will say one of my favourite things, though, actually, when it comes to Eldar lore, one of my favourite things, which is...
Gardening as well.
What was that?
Sorry, I said it'd be good for gardening as well.
Technically it would be now that you mention it. One of my favourite things, though,
There's the thing called the garden weasel, so...
apologies to Smart, who doesn't seem to know much Warhammer stuff, but when Guilliman, the Primarch, was brought back to life, I love how in the lore, I'm sorry, Vulcan, I know I'm exaggerating for emphasis, you'll have to put up with it. I know I'm not literally quoting the exact text of the book. He wakes up and everyone on the battlefield just instantly freezes. He's like, oh shit, he's awake. What's he gonna do? And then he just doesn't even ask any questions. Just gets to work right away, beating the shit out of people and organizing things and fixing everything. And then the leader of the Eldar, who is essentially described as and in art is meant to look a bit on the attractive side. It's just like, oh, thank you for saving us now that we've revived you. He just grabs her by the hair and walks off with her, then comes back later. It's like, alright, we've got an agreement to now work together as allies. Any questions? No? Good. It's just, they're like, what the fuck is happening here? Just the ultimate Giga Chad move. It's like, alright, we're done. We now have an alliance. Any questions, or do I need to beat the shit out of people? If it works, it works.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
What was that?
Sounds about right. I mean, it is Warhammer. What do you expect?
Well, if someone saves your life, I mean, they do have it. It's a good bargaining chip for them to sort of use, to be honest, if they want something off you. There's no two ways about it.
I do like it though. It's just he revives, comes back from the dead, and it's just like his immediate idea is just to beat the shit out of everything. And then when the fight's over, it's just there. It's like a case of, right, I single-handedly won the battle for you. Now I guess we're going to be allies once I'm done with this. Just if it works, you know. Good bargaining chip.
Well, before he got put into stasis, he was essentially doing that anyway, so it's just a continuation to him.
Yeah. With that, though, I'm going to take over from Carb and read this little bit. Another news. I'll open that in a second, or else I'll get distracted, Bleach. I see more links to click on. I'll get distracted, you know what I'm like. In this statement, Go Media General Manager Simon Teagle said it was removed as soon as the company started fielding calls from offended New Zealanders. Well, okay, so the pussies started calling on the
So
phone.
offended.
So
weenie
offended.
Kiwis.
So offended the free speech group fucking caved and bent the knee. Absolute fucking bitches. This is complete faggotry. Oh, I shouldn't have said that shit. He believed. Seriously, I take it back. This is brilliant. Now, fuck off. There we go. He believed the billboard could be in breach of Advertising Standards Authority codes. The contract with the authorities, advertiser, was on hold until there was a clean determination from the authority, Teagle said. Go Media, in conclusion, locally owned New Zealand businesses, and we support all communities. While we believe in freedom of speech, we do not condone the content that upsets our community. Well, here's why you shouldn't agree with every community, because some communities are fucking shit. Some communities are fucking evil. If someone comes along as the We Eat Babies community, you don't fucking support them. And when you have the fucking Slanesh cult community in the form of the trans people, you don't support them either. Ever. Fuck these people. No, don't fuck them actually, because that's probably what they want. You know.
Oh no, they're on sex strike with Roe v. Wade, so no worries.
Oh no! Whatever will we do? The Slanesh cultists are on sex strike. Oh no!
That's not going to last long.
You're
Not
take
long
one
enough.
look at Vulcan and be like, damn, I want that. Well, we get some.
And like an absolute man beast, I will hold them back. One by one.
Just takes them into a different
Hold
room.
them back or hold them down.
Yes!
Whichever one they consent to.
Just shout surprise.
What are you on about? It's not a surprise.
I love
mean-
jihad we're proposing here. That is completely degenerate.
Well, yes.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Now, if this company had turned around and gone, I wonder what the virtuous thing would have been. they likely wouldn't have taken the sign down. They would have gone, they paid us to do it. We're just a platform.
The problem is the
let's
people
see.
calling they probably even haven't. Most of them won't have seen almost all of them won't have even seen the actual poster. They'll have just seen people complaining about it, and it's a bit like a communist
Well, how the
vote.
left works.
It's only the
They have
people
the
who on one side who are contacting you.
So I do find it strange how the left are able to, in a sense, monopolize their numbers, because they all sort of fall into line really easily. So with the right, we all
Like the
kind
Borg.
of do. Yes,
Absolutely,
just like the
definitely.
ball. Like, don't get me wrong, they have a chain of command that's more effective than the military, for God's sake. But I'm just
actually impressed. I just don't know how they do it. You know what I mean?
It's got a, it's really strange because it's, how do I put it? Maybe it's because of the right-wing worldview or the conservative worldview that we're all individuals and we all need to sort of work out our morals. Whereas from the left's point of view, I think it's more accurate to say that there is one absolute worldview that no one can refute. And so anything that refutes that needs to be stricken down. And they all feel that they have a duty to do that. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
'Cause I don't think
there's
that's as
this
strong.
concept with a lot of like left-wing progressive churches of collective salvation. So they have this idea where it all has to play in together. Oh yeah, they're corrupting everything they can find to corrupt.
Look, if I end up going to prison, it's literally for beating the shit out of a leftist in my local church. I'm just gonna be honest with you. That's how that
Well,
shit
they
show
typically
ends.
go with the pseudo evangelical type churches, and there was a study recently in the U.S. where there's only like 48% of evangelicals, preachers, believe that they're following a Christ-like life, which I find rather telling.
I can't remember
Wow.
the name of the branch of Christianity, but I do remember that there was this time in history where there was a branch of Christianity who always dressed in rags and effectively tried to live as much like Jesus as possible. And effectively, one of the crusades that happened in the past was literally to butcher these people, so the main branch of the church would not effectively lose all of their power. And so yeah, every institution can always be corrupt, of course. But that's a fun thing that happened in history. It's
They
It's
might.
easy to
Are
find
we
out where they
thinking the
live because
Cathars?
they just have this massive stone front door.
it's not that difficult to find them. You just look for the home that looks like it literally is just from the first fucking century or some shit.
I mean, there is one really good way of protecting ourselves against these kinds of people. It's putting a massive moat between us and them. How the fuck did Britain go wrong?
We let these people in. We didn't understand that the holy words of the God Emperor. We didn't erect the walls around the moat.
You're absolutely right. We need a golden suit of armor for the Queen, so she can continue to.
Of course.
Um, I do wonder what the Queen would do if she had her youth back right now.
I'm surprised
Like,
that she hasn't kicked everyone in Parliament out after the whole. She watches her husband slowly die, and then they have a fucking party. It's like, ooh, if I were the Queen, there would be heads rolling, and I'm not even sure if it just be figuratively speaking. I'm not even sure
I
if it
mean,
would
you
just
do
be.
have to wonder. Like, she's what, nearly 100 years old?
Yeah.
Thereabouts, yeah.
So, how lucid is her thoughts, and whether she is just a spokesperson now for what the people behind her want her to do.
Are you? I'm sorry, but I'm gonna be honest. I don't see her as a Joe Biden. I really don't.
No, she's a lot more lucid for one.
Yeah.
That's true.
I
Yeah.
know.
Hasn't been a horrible
I
human
can
being
feel
her
like
entire
I'm-
life.
I'm
unlike
gonna be
Biden.
honest here. I know Carl and the Load Seaters essentially went 100% leftist and talked at how he finds certain things of the modern world offensive. But can't believe I'm doing this. The idea that the Queen is anything like Joe Biden in any shape, way, or form,
Oh, no, no,
that is
that's
offensive to me. How
I'm
dare
so
you?
offended.
Okay, yeah. Well, okay, yeah. I've gone that place with this, but yeah, fine, sure, whatever.
But I do like it's only a slight thought, and I just thought I'd ask the question because she is like 100 years old. If that was our grandparents, like they probably wouldn't even be walking.
No, I don't know.
Um,
At 96,
And I think Joe Biden's a hell of a lot younger than her.
I mean,
yeah, I mean, she's
she has better
96
medical
and
care,
he's
and
like
she's always had better
78.
health anyway.
She's probably not a
Yeah.
drug-addled sex fiend.
Who fucking needs to get their hands off of children because Joe Biden, what's that about?
Mhm.
I think we all know.
And
Yeah.
it's disgusting.
Maybe that's what forces leftists to walk in sync with each other so heavily. It's that innate attractiveness to children. Maybe they all know that they're all fucked, so if one of them blows, they all blow. Sort of a thing of, well, if I don't do this, someone's going to tell on me, so I'll just stay in line.
Well,
I think there's
Like how
definitely an
pedophile
element of
gang
that.
doesn't
well,
tell
I
the
actually
police.
might
No,
have an
this-
answer. There was this Nage documentary I saw not too long ago, where effectively these baboons were having problems with lions. They obviously couldn't kill adult lions. They were just too dangerous. But what they could do is they could wait for the lions to go to sleep, and then take the little lion away from the big lion, and eventually, over a number of years, there were just no big lions anymore. And essentially, it's like it could be a solution like that. It's like, oh well, if we fucking nonce and transition all of the fucking kids, then there won't be any fucking conservatives left anymore who think straight. It's like, okay. Because all of the conservative people then die out. It's like, well, okay, yes, but if people homeschool their kids instead, then that won't work anymore. Because the leftists have tried essentially importing people to vote for them, and now essentially, like, you look up statistics, even they don't want to vote left anymore. Like, generally speaking, it's not a 100% trend, but it's like even importing voters won't work forever type of mindset. So how are they
Okay.
going to actually get more votes? And it's not going to be from convincing people because their ideas are shit. So they have to convince people while they're young.
I don't think their ideas are shit.
Oh, they fucking are.
I think the way in which they do present their ideas are quite seductive to children and potentially to adults as well.
Yeah,
So,
you weren't
imagine
here.
if
You weren't
you-
here earlier when we first started the episode before we had to restart the episode because of my internet connection. But one of the things that we went over is with the trans flag. They're using nursery style colours that are attractive to children, like the bright pink and bright blue, to essentially just look more child friendly.
Well, yeah, it's because they target children to advance their ideas before the children have a chance to be raised by the beg your pardon, parents properly. Now, what was I just thinking? Oh dear, I've just forgotten it. Sorry, I'll try and remember.
Quick,
If you don't
play a
mind,
train video.
what was that?
The
What did you
The
say?
big thing is the left frames things in such a way where it's all egalitarian and equal and yada yada yada, where underpinning everything is a complete and utter hierarchy.
Yes, yeah. So I just remember what I was going to say. So imagine you're completely unaware of politics. You've never even reached your hands into it. You're depressed, on your arse, claiming the job. You have no purpose in life. Like, you are literally the worst person in the world. And then some socialist comes to you and goes, you know what? It's not your fault. It's society. They made you this way. That, I would think, for someone who's not discussed or thought of politics, is very lucrative and seductive.
Oh yeah, because when you can shift not just blame but hope for something better onto yourself and collective activities, most people are going to take it.
Mm.
I think that's the sad reality of humanity is most people en masse want the easy way out.
Yeah, yeah.
No one. There aren't
I
many
think
people who want to actually put like a fuck ton of effort into things. Let's be honest about this. When that's not a good thing. Effort needs to be put into a lot of shit.
Right. But
oh yeah,
when
yeah. The easy road never gives you what you want. What
No.
you want.
Like she's becoming a little bit based, so I don't have to feel bad about quoting from something that's related to J.K. Rowling. But the quote in the fourth movie, I think it was, after Voldemort's brought back, Dumbledore says, "In the future, you'll have to choose between what is right and what is easy," and it's very fucking true. It's
Yeah.
not yesterday, Friday when I was coming home from work. It would have been easier if I just left that old lady broken down on the motorway and didn't
Hey.
stop my car and effectively like, oh, you've not got a phone, you can use mine to call for the thing. But it's a case of it's not the right thing to do to just drive off. Also, what was it you said, Shadow?
Nothing.
You said cake, or did I mishear you?
No, nothing.
Okay. But it's actually quite a good quote of the choose between what's right and what's easy.
I just had an idea.
Go on.
So you know we're about to head into a recession.
Oh, we fucking are. It's gonna be
we're
bad.
in already.
That might actually be beneficial for children. Because if the government can't afford to pay the benefits, whatnot, and women can't get the benefits because, you know, they are the majority of people claiming benefits, then they're going to have to find a man, which means children will get fathers, which means the recession inadvertently puts families back together.
Oh, I didn't think of it like that, but okay, that's brilliant.
So,
Would be an
ironically,
interesting
the
outcome.
left has created their own. Sorry, what was that?
That would be a great outcome. Not sure if I see it, but it could definitely happen.
Well, I mean, it would have to take some incredible political maneuvering to prevent that from happening. But the reality is, they will need that second income in the house just to provide for their family. And when push comes to shove, women will take up a man where that is necessary. Or am I wrong?
You're not wrong, no.
I don't think you're wrong. I wonder about how the left is already pre-planned for some situation like that, where they're just going to start printing more and more money, which in the short term will let them bolster their hold on single mothers and weak family structures. Long term, it'll change, but will we be around to actively see these changes? Or will it just be so gradual that we don't know it's happened until we look at it in retrospect?
I think the possibility is that this will take 50, 60, or 70 years to finish. So I'll likely see the end of it if that's the time frame. If it's longer, our children will see it. But I do think, well, something's gonna give.
Yeah.
Permanent, forever increasing inflation
guarantee it's
can't
in my
happen.
lifetime.
That's something just fucking changing.
Yep. Well, I think the big thing that we have to worry about, in the Anglo-American context, is how will our cultures kind of revert, or will they revert? Kind of a big question I've always had. Will we return to more of a independently minded peoples, or will we be just churned and turned under into kind of the European Union collectivist bullshit?
But you need to do it in such a way that doesn't require God, because you can't convert the population doesn't believe in God to believe in God, but you can convert people who don't believe in God and do believe in God to think more independently.
Yes.
That's the problem I can see you have, because a lot of people will come back. People here as well will say, "Oh well, return to tradition. You've got to look at you've got to read this book, or look at how well this did in the past." But that's great, but you can't convince people that don't believe that. But you can come up with secular ethics that can stand in place of that, which is part of that is obviously to be independently minded in order to come up with conclusions. And I'm not sure how you work that one or how you build that, but I think it needs to be done.
Yeah, because the concept of secular ethics all hinges on convincing people there are non-mortal consequences to your actions. That's always been the quandary I've had. How do you convince people who have no fear of some greater power other than government that there are some timeless consequences to your shitty actions?
Mm.
I think that's
Which
got
I
to be
think
collective.
is part of the big reason why religion has played such a role in correcting society's excesses, also causing them. Net positive.
Yes.
So.
But I do agree with you that religion serves to limit the excesses of humanity rather than provide for its excesses. What was I thinking?
How are we supposed to know?
So I think it's got to come from the community. I think as times get harder and the money dries up, these leftist communities will, in a sense, have their funding cut from underneath them. So all these woke media groups and whatnot, all that money's going to go. George Soros, all his funding, it's going to go if the recession hits. Now, when that happens, Carl made the good point, which is the left can't create anything. They can only corrupt, whereas the right can create things. So it'll then be on us to create that better future, because the left can't do it. So
if tomorrow we could wake up and not have a fiat currency, a limited currency of some description, we would resolve most of these issues just overnight. Because if you can't print money to gain votes, and you can't fund things exponentially to your own ends, a lot of these, obviously, because that doesn't stop George Soros giving money to whoever he wants within reason. Because if he has the funds, he has the funds. But governments can't do that. They can't give billions to. It could be a war in a foreign country, but it could also be building a new hospital at home. To get funds in a local town, even though you don't need one. or build another. And you have some. I know in the States you have issues where they end up building another ship for the Navy, even though the Navy haven't specifically asked for an additional one, just to keep shipbuilding alive in that particular area. And it kind of just gets worked out along the way, like stuff like that. Because but also so you need to have the ability to not print money in that way. Although you've got an additional problem where you are in that states can't become bankrupt. So that's another issue. That's another aspect of the same issue, I guess, that you've got that we don't have in this country.
Which is a damn shame, because I would like to see some states, New York, California.
Am I cutting out, or can I not hear Mr. Berger?
He's cutting out.
Okay.
I think Birgit is cutting out.
Okay. Maybe he'll come back.
See, I think it should be enforced that states that states are only allowed to spend as much as they have. So if you've got 2 million in the bank, fine, you can spend 2 million. If you don't, well, you've got to fund that some other way.
So you mean remove debt?
I think that would.
Well, remove additional debt.
Yeah, it will.
There have been
additional
attempts of balanced budget amendments. So.
See, my thoughts is that it would also prevent the government from overreaching or overspending, which is where all this money laundering comes from. Because they can just print money. They can just go into debt. It doesn't bother them.
Yep.
Whereas...
But they're not the ones actually having to pay for it.
No, and neither the most of the people that are voting for it now, because they'll be dead.
It would also reduce military sizes because, of course, you can only fund as much as you can, tax from people.
I witnessed the Welsh independence rally yesterday.
Shadow?
Who's talking? You sound a little far from your mic.
Sorry, I said I witnessed
the
Welsh
Shadow.
independence rally.
Shadow's mic.
Yeah, Shadow, your mic's all sorts of staticky.
Oh, by the way, I didn't realise that Chaos was here earlier. Welcome, Chaos, to the podcast. And I think we've got what we can out of this tab. I'm not going to interrupt what's being said, but I think I will close this tab specifically. Any complaints before I do so?
Nope.
Yes, one complaint. They talk about Wellington Phoenix.
Wellington, I know
the
Wellington
football team,
Phoenix.
about being a great team. It's the All Blacks in New Zealand. Anyway.
Wait, Wellington Phoenix are a football team in New Zealand?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or is it rugby? I can't remember.
No, Wellington Phoenix are
really
football. One of the first guys who hired me as a football coach now works for them.
Yeah. I bet they don't even play in Wellington.
Smallish world.
That is a pretty good sports team name, I'm not going to lie.
They do sometimes play in Auckland, you're not wrong.
So I've probably had this conversation with you guys before, but I think the last time Britain had a civil war was like 1500s with Oliver Cromwell, right?
So we're long overdue a second one, is what you're saying.
So my question is, do you think almost 600 years is too long for there not to be a civil war? Do you think it's too long for a governance system to continue?
The thing is, in some ways, our system hasn't continued because our system grew to the greatest it's ever been and then has slowly collapsed and is collapsing even further with the rise of Scottish and Welsh independence.
You guys hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Yeah. Hello?
Yeah, you're loud and clear, Vulcan.
Oh.
So,
If someone's speaking, I can't hear.
what I'm asking is 700 years too long to have a single form of government.
Not if it's a monarchy.
All monarchy is justified, as far as I'm concerned.
Monarchy is the best.
Yes.
I'll put it this way. In the American context, a monarchy of the Bidens would just be horrific.
Uh,
Yeah,
the
but the
world.
Current
Bidens
current
wouldn't
day
be-
America is literally an example of just current day America is just a retelling of the story of Robin Hood, and Donald Trump is the true king who essentially isn't currently on the throne, and then Joe Biden is effectively the false king who's just there. It's like, fuck it, make the taxes go up because me want more money, but instead of money, it's power. But it's just basically just if you're ever wondering why just the tale of the true king returns is such a good cultural thing in the UK, you're fucking living through the true king being absent, so that's why.
Fair enough.
God King Donald Trump? Question mark.
Well, it's a case of it's literally like there's not really many differences between the story that the people going through in the tale of Robin Hood to modern day America. It's a case of and then there's of course the shadow campaign that
Yeah, but the shadow campaign was legal, and it was just Democrats doing dodgy things that they managed to pass in preparation for the election, like how they'd been doing dodgy things with
forever.
social media and doing dodgy things forever. It's just more obvious and more detectable now, and we either need to play by the same strategy or make all that stuff illegal and heavily restricted when you do get power again, because otherwise you won't win any elections and your country will be fucked.
Indeed.
Yeah.
If one side is willing to use violence, the other side is hesitant to do so to defend themselves and is scared because the institutions don't back them up. But when they have power in those institutions, they don't use them to make them more fair or use them in the same way their enemy uses them, then they're bound to be destroyed.
Indeed. It's really annoying, actually, not gonna lie.
Well, yeah, like where are the Republicans that push for like removing the NFA or lessening gun laws? They always just compromise. Whereas it's always the Democrats that are pushing the stuff down. Same thing here in the UK.
So did you know
We're
Thomas the
not
Tank
pushing
was a
back
very
conservative.
ineffective tank engine?
We'll get to that. Don't you worry. Like it'll be a special. Don't worry. We'll get into it.
What, Thomas the Tank?
So
What?
am I just being blind, or did the
Yes.
Supreme Court overturn this New York law?
You're not blind. No, at all.
But it didn't go far enough because they put a concurrence where it was not a constitutional carry, it was a shall issue.
Yeah, so it was effectively it was a shall
issue.
issue that wasn't enforced correctly because it would be like, yeah, we'll
So
give it
when
to
it
you.
comes
We've
to
got
American
take
law,
the time to do it.
when Americans have the right to bear arms, is that regardless? Like, so you can have
Yes,
any
it is.
gun.
It shall not.
whenever,
It shall
wherever.
not be infringed. It includes nukes. It shall not be infringed.
It's a case that I love with the Democratic Party and other people in like political positions. I fucking love how they look at the thing. It's like, but what does this mean? What could this possibly mean? I don't understand it. It means shall not be infringed. It's right fucking there.
And it says to keep and bear arms, defining the difference from just being able to have them on your own property and to bearing them, as in having them on you in public.
And a lot of
Wherever you
states
go.
do recognize open carry. This is more
Constitutional-
specifically for
Constitutional
concealed carry.
carry.
Well, no,
Constitutional carry state.
constitutional carry is a form of concealed carry where you don't need the state's permission to carry a firearm on your person that is not visible. Now, open carry is you can sling a rifle or holster a pistol on your hip as long as it's visible at all times. That's
I think
the
that
only
should be 100%. Like, I don't know why. I kind of understand the benefit of concealed carry, but I feel like everyone open carrying has a bigger benefit on society as a whole.
It
Because it's gonna
does, but
turn
there
people
is
away.
the argument of if you've got it concealed, there's an incident, you're not going to be targeted first, but you can react
Yeah,
first.
when you're like if the school's teachers and staff members, if you knew who had guns or there was just a guard, they would kill the guard first. Whereas if all the teachers are concealed carrying or a couple are, then you can't. No, that doesn't make valid. Yeah, that's valid. I was just thinking the ideal world where everyone had a gun.
What? So we can't hear this anymore because Harry managed to delete the last episode. But I did actually mention as a joke there that in the UK, because we don't have the same laws, but criminals have a habit of carrying knives, right? So imagine a town where they institute a law that says everyone has to carry a 6-inch blade.
Based.
So now in a country where it's quite hard to, guns are in very limited supply, what's going to happen when some guy with a criminal comes along with a knife of a size that they're choosing to rob a store, knowing that everyone he comes across is legally, just like it's a £20 fine if you get found without a blade. And nothing horrendous, but enough that it's annoying. You just keep a blade.
They have a law like that in Svalbard, but for rifles because of polar bears. You have to have a rifle on you when you leave town.
It's based.
This idea stemmed from another idea I had that was like in the US where you have the same thing, but you say it's a $50 fine if you don't have a weapon on you. But it can be anything. It can be a 2-shot Derringer, but you have to have a weapon on you. It doesn't even have to be loaded. You just have to have a minimum, like a weapon. Because again, that way a criminal knows everyone is armed, and it doesn't matter if there's 3 people in the shop and they all pull a weapon on you when you go to rob the shop. You don't know which one's loaded, which one isn't. You just know it's probably going to end badly. So it's the same sort of concept, basically.
You'd have to add in that people need to be trained how to use it. So, like in Switzerland, they've got more guns per capita than most other countries, apart from America, and they have 0 gun crime, literally, because they train all their kids. Their kids go to shooting clubs as part of schools, like Americans do with driver's ed.
That would be good, but imagine you're someone who really doesn't feel they can or doesn't want to, but they, in order to live in that town, they have to carry one, or they get fined if they find they haven't got one. So they carry a airweight 38 snobby that's not loaded. But again, they're just another person. They're just, so we're walking around, and if they see a crime, they just pull a weapon out and point it at the guy who's trying to rob the store. It doesn't matter because when everyone does that, the guy doesn't know. This is the classic Panzer versus the T-34. Yes, half the T-34s don't have armor in them. Some of them don't have electrics in them. Some of them, they're terrible. They're all in terrible condition. But when you're outnumbered 10-1, you don't know which one's which. And you're going to fail because it's a numbers game. And in the end, what you do is you just don't invade Russia.
An armed society is a polite society.
But you don't. Yeah, you can carry.
Imposing a training requirement kind of defeats the purpose of shall not be infringed, because every responsible gun owner I know, which basically is every gun owner I know, they know how to field strip, clean it, take care of it, know all the gun safety, because it's upon them. It's incumbent upon them, not some forced system that's being, you need to do X, Y, and Z so you can safely operate.
That's why I said you'd have to do it culturally, and it would have to be encouraged and something that everyone grew up doing.
I completely agree.
It would have to be a cultural shift.
I genuinely think that everyone should be armed with a pistol, regardless, and they need to go for training every single week.
It used to be a law in the UK but ages ago,
I just think it's
men
a societal duty to be able to defend yourself.
Yeah, had to train to do archery and stuff. Yeah, absolutely. I think
for hundreds of years.
I don't know if it's law, but I was quite impressed when they talked about Russians in, I don't know what year in school, but they learn how to strip AKs and stuff like that as part of their
fucking base.
Part of their, that year. And
absolutely,
I was like, that sounds like
you don't need to strip an AK, just leave it buried for years and it'll still work.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Okay, yeah.
Culturally in the U.S., because we're on the some anniversary of the Battle of Gettysburg, it's worth noting that every man in the U.S., with the exception in large urban areas, were required to be part of their local militia. So it was like a
Yep.
county militia, and once a month they would go out, they would drill. It was a cultural thing.
It was like
where they had
reservists,
to do
but
this.
locally.
I mean, it was actually more of a social club with guns that everyone was expected to participate in.
But that would, if that was a cultural thing that was still enforced, you wouldn't need a standing army in America because no one would fucking invade.
I wish we had this.
So what we're saying is we have to mandate learning standard army tactics to secondary schoolers using airsoft weapons.
Well, we already try and do it, and there's already hundreds of countries that do some form of mandatory military or civil
I completely
service.
agree.
Okay.
We already do it to some extent with like groups. I had army days at school. There was like little army scout clubs and all that type of shit. And then there's the reservists. And if every like adult male had to do that and be part of that, pass a basic training and do set reservist time each year, you'd be fine. And then that would encourage them to be allowed to be armed in public society because they'd have enough training and know how to use them. And would discourage crime. Because
I don't understand why Britain
And it would also build
ever give up their weapons.
No,
because
you should never
bleeding
give up
hearts
the
are like, oh, think of the children.
Yeah, fuck the children.
Well, no, don't.
Well, that was their
No,
argument.
we're not leftists here. We're not leftists.
Alert!
Having children is no good when you cannot defend yourself, because then your children get raped by your enemy.
Country is no good if you can't protect your borders.
And that's
Because then your
not
children
good
get raped
for
by your enemy. Lol.
Literally got like a 7-mile wide moat or something. We can't protect our country.
Yeah,
I know, it's bizarre and strange and weird.
I see the numbers every
We
day
have-
at work.
We're literally an island, and yet, for some reason, we can't protect our own.
I've got an idea,
Oh, this will be a good one.
right?
Oh, this is... Yes, thank you.
Okay. So we can't destroy these boats in the channel because it looks bad, right?
Yeah.
Dude,
So
pray to God that I never ever become the Prime Minister, because I would just have these fucking boats shot,
okay,
and they'd stop
all
coming. I promise you.
right, but all these boats that end up getting here, okay, they land and then presumably they get confiscated or put somewhere or whatever. So theoretically, we've got warehouses full of ex-dinghies that have crossed the channel, yeah? Why don't we start propagating in the media that these dinghies are just getting blown up in the channel? And we'll just use the ones we've got, load them up with like pig's blood or whatever, and then occasionally, just as there's a P&O ferry crossing the channel and they see a dinghy out there, so you've got witnesses, it just explodes. It just, and someone's like, oh my God, what happened? And then no one owns up to it. The government could even be like, oh, we don't know, and so the thing happens, but there's no one on board because everyone on it was, it was just a dinghy that's blown up. And you imagine the negative news cycle of that, and then suddenly it turns out people don't want to cross the channel anymore in dinghies, because they've heard all these horrendous stories about dinghies just randomly blowing up. And no one. And occasionally just have a submarine that comes up and then just goes back down again and just deny everything. Just deny it was your submarine, just deny it ever happened. And after over a couple of months, I mean, you're going to get run out of dinghies at some point, but we must have a massive stockpile of shitty dinghies that are completely...
Think of all the bodies that have been donated to science. This would be a good use for them.
You don't need to do any of that, though. All you need to do is just dissuade them from coming. So as soon as they arrive, you put them straight into prison and you deport them. That's literally all you need to do, and they'll stop coming.
Right.
Like Trump's
all those
Remain
dead
in
bodies
Mexico
washed up on our
policy.
shores. That's a significant scientific endeavour there.
All we have to do is just say that anyone who comes will be arrested and deported and never allowed to come here legally. And no one will come. That's what
This
Trump
is
did in
a
America, and it worked.
genius
Biden
idea.
removed it, and they're having the same problem.
Yep.
You just arrest them, remove their chance to apply for it.
I mean, those
It's not
NGOs who
difficult.
are kind of just ferrying these migrants around for no reason. What would happen if one of those ships sank?
Just a crazy thought, just if it just suddenly disappeared for no apparent reason.
Occupying
Oops.
hostile waters for no reason. Just sank. Strange
Yeah.
waters.
I
Yeah.
don't know what you're talking about. We didn't have anything to do with this. We didn't have anything to do with it at all. Fuck off.
You wouldn't even have to make the spectacle. You just advertise the fact that the Navy had found some sort of, the remnants of yet another destroyed dinghy on the Dorset coast, bullet holes, blood everywhere, but no one knows what happened. Another mystery. That's the fourth one this month. Oh my God. And it only takes so long for that mysterious news of the Channel Ripper to get through, and then they just stop coming because they'd be like, wow, because they don't. It's not like they're keeping tallies of who's coming across and who didn't make it. The people who are doing it don't give a shit. So yeah, and then I can imagine that mind game warfare reducing numbers considerably. And again, you wouldn't have to do much to set this up because we must have fucking shitloads of these dinghies somewhere that just keep getting pulled in. I don't know where they go. I mean, I can imagine someone repairing them and then refurbish them and sending them back to the French, and then coming on a return trip about a month later. I can imagine that's the thing. We need to find out where these dinghies go. Just that on its own, I'm interested to know what happens to all. I know someone in the police force, but she's an inspector, so it's not exactly her thing. But I might ask her. She must know someone who works in the Coast Guard area, or because the police pick up obviously some of these guys as they make it to the beach, and so someone must know what happens to all these dinghies. They must go somewhere.
Get chucked into a warehouse somewhere.
I don't know, because then you have to pay to. There must be a process. I don't know what it is, but there must be one, and I'm sure that could be hijacked, and then essentially just make it look like something out of Jaws. Just do one every so often, publicize it. Add an air of mystery. One day it's bullet holes, other days it's it's flaming wreck coming in. Stories of something being seen, or just do a missile test one day or something. Two Eurofighters were seen overhead. One launched a missile. Everyone just there's nothing, and then this smouldering thing comes in, and then everyone asks for an investigation. No one knows. The government deny it, and I reckon no one would want to get in with a dinghy after that. Strafe a couple of them, but miss, but just strafe a couple of the actual ones. Again, perfect witnesses. They get here. Oh my God, we almost get taken out. Who by? Well, it was an aircraft. We couldn't see. Just take the RAF signatures off it. Just make it. You could really fuck things up there without causing. No one would have to actually die, and you could. I reckon between all those events, you could absolutely reduce the number come across here, and obviously deport them straight away and stuff like that. But I reckon a combined, and it wouldn't cost that much to mount that kind of publicity, because all the left wing people, all the left wing organisations would want to cover it because it would sound absolutely hideous.
It'd be right down their line.
Yeah, exactly. It would be the perfect clickbait that makes money. Oh my God, another blood-soaked dinghy turns up on the shore. Well, half of one. No one knows what happened to the other half. It looked like it'd been cut in half by some, I don't know, some small ship. I reckon you could really take that one really far and really shit some people up, and then so to the point where they would decide they wanted to stay in war-torn France after all.
I like the idea. Yeah.
So I think there's some people are going to enjoy this. If you don't mind me just interrupting on just like managing to find just this little spot to interrupt this. Therapist told me that pets aren't children. Oh yeah, it's one of those. So, for background knowledge, I have a cat that is 2 years old now, and he's had many, many health issues. He's stable now, and I love him to death. He's the sweetest thing ever, and so very good for his meds. My therapist, who knows I'm child-free, we've had
Child
many.
free. That's a great way of putting it.
How old is this person? I hope they give away their age. It'll be great. We've had many discussions about this. Recently told me that it was irrational how much I've spent to keep him alive. She spent 15 minutes telling me that a cat is no substitute for a baby, and that it is irrational to spend thousands to keep a mere animal alive. Now, I do consider pets part of the family, but you gotta be harsh with these fucking people to get the message across. I'm at a complete and utter loss here. I'm scared for our next meeting because I know where she sows politically, and I'm worried about the Roe v. Wade discussion. What are your thoughts on this bitch?
Strange woman.
Oh, I just cannot understand why the left keep on trying to use pets as substitutes for kids. It's not how it works. It's just not how.
On saying that though, when you have a lot of people who aren't necessarily leftists, who when they find out that someone's been done for, butchering their dog or something, they're like, oh, it's, this person should be brought up on murder charges. They should spend the rest of their life in jail. So, and as much as it might have been a truly hideous crime or an event, depends if it's a crime. I'm not sure. It would. So there are people who have incredibly strong feelings about pets who think like that, but who have children and understand the difference. But in the moment they read that someone's been found, that they found out whose bag of kittens that was in the river or whatever it was, and let's say even if they haven't been proven guilty, like the evidence it's really concrete. Like there's no one's arguing anything against it. They go, oh, that person should spend they should throw away the key. So it is tricky because I understand why people say that. That is also irrational, but people struggle with this. I don't know what to say, because there are lots of people like that who aren't leftists who'd connect with what this person's saying, even if they thought they were still kind of odd.
Is that might so? If you remember the article that Carl made on politics of Warhammer, he said that a way that you can identify the left is that they hold care as one of the primary sort of political foundations. Care is really high for them, as well as I think there was two others, liberty and something. Whereas conservatives have a very rounded off view of the whole politics thing. The left have a focus on care and a few others far above everything else. So it might be that focus on care causes them to emit such strong feelings for this.
Is this the Jordan Peterson preferences as well? Is that where this comes from? Where they? Oh, I forget which ones it is, but I think that's what you're going with this. I can't remember what the but yeah, I think
I'll try and find it now. I think it might have been Frank Dakota's.
How do you educate people to see outside of that? I don't know if you can. I think, especially if it's someone's of a certain age, I just don't think you can. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just don't know. Oh, my alarm's just gone off. Hold on.
With that
Gotcha.
said, though, I'll close that. Okay, I admittedly saw this on the unofficial Load Users one, and I thought this one looked funny from the woke cringe. So, I guess I'll have a read of this, because I can't remember what all of it was actually, because it's a while since I clicked on it. I can't lie to myself anymore. Shame. See my friend group. Right, in the modern day and age, there's someone who's just saying like, "Oh, I hate being gay." It's like, how in the modern age? It's one of the most accepted thing that's just rammed down everyone's throat. But I don't fit in. I wish I did. I wish I belonged. Should I just like move on to the next one because this guy's obviously delusional.
Uh,
Hello?
oh, there are only 3 of us left?
Oh shit, is there? Let me take a look.
Huh.
Scroll down more.
To be honest,
Yeah, I guess.
I don't get it. Like, why would you hate yourself for being gay? As long as you're a good...
I found a good one. I found a good one actually. This will be an interesting one. I'll just certainly find somewhere to post this. Also, we are getting to the train stuff. Don't you worry about that.
I do love my trains.
I know you fucking love your trains. Actually, hang on. How far are we away from the... Oh, that's a meme. We don't really need a meme.
Oh, me.
An actual... That's odd. Okay. So we're only one thing away from the trains then. Well, the only thing that we have to go now, before we have train time, and your train talk and your train autism, is the D-trans demographic surgery.
Demographic. Yeah.
Yeah. Screened and broke down. Okay. I think the Reddit is upset that people aren't just staying trans but trying to change back, and that's not how this works. It's a permanent decision. Due to limited images, I'm going to be using them all from the D-trans surgery thing. I don't know how that works. A surgery was passed throughout Reddit. A survey was passed throughout Reddit to survey
do you want me
the...
to read?
Was that?
Do you want me to read?
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead. You can see it on the thing, right?
Yeah. So,
Go
a
ahead,
survey
mate.
was passed through Reddit to survey the participants of D-Trans on Reddit. This survey lasted from January 2022 to February 2022. The survey was proposed not only to better understand the demographic of people posting on r/D-Trans, but to address concerning and harmful rumors and misconceptions about the population of r/D-Trans. D-Trans is a growing community of questioners, desisters, and detransitioners who are no longer identifying within the transgender community. The survey had a total of 400 participants. However, after screening through all results and discarding responses that are not within the detransition umbrella or questioning, that number drops to 247, which is still quite a lot, considering most of those people who have detransed are not willing to speak up. Anyway, so within this post, we will be... Beg my pardon? Where were we? Oh, there we go. So, within this post, we will be screening through 247 answers from those who are detransed, socially desisted, and of course, questioning. There were 3 marks used within each survey participant. Green equals everything looks good. Yellow, it's solid, but there's concerns in some points where verification becomes iffy. Red equals data could not be verified, screened out. So, what do you think of that, eh?
Yeah. It's I feel so bad for people who they rush into it and then try to fucking go back to the way they were before. I feel bad for these people. I really do. There's no fixing what's been done. It's not happening. It's just not possible.
So I'm quite happy because 400 participants. Okay, let's say 100 of those are troll lords. There's still about 250 people who have detrans to the point that they can talk about all this shit. And that's quite a lot of people, especially considering that we all know that the certain group who opposes this are incredibly hate-filled. Like, if they could, they would kill these people.
Oh yeah.
247? That is really good.
If you consider the ones that aren't, they are likely parents or siblings of people that are, and they're trying to get a better idea of just how bad this will be.
Yeah. I mean, let's put it this way. That's 400 people who have participated in the survey. So, there's
That's
more
true.
again who have seen D-Trans as well. That's 400 people spreading the message. So, God's work, I guess.
Definitely is God's work. Absolutely.
Right.
If you scroll down, what's the outcome? There's quite a lot there.
Yeah, this just let me do that quickly. So then we've got a bookmark for. Oh my god! Oh, we can go through a lot of this if you want. It just keeps going.
Yeah.
This keeps going for a while.
I'm looking at the size of that scroll bar, and that's a lot of stuff.
Do you want to keep going with it? We can go on for a while. I didn't think it was this big.
Probably not.
We can go.
Well,
No?
we're going to be here for like another hour or two if we go through all that.
Fair point.
Okay, well, at least let me skim it and find out if I can't find any really key pieces of information. But I'm going to need the link.
I shall get this. Go to Discord. Scroll down.
Maybe we could have some sort of train for some sort of interlude while you read.
Yes,
Yeah,
a
perhaps.
train, you say. A train that you say. So, Union Pacific Railroad tribute. I'll just press play on this fucking thing. I'm surprised he's not just autisming about trains right now.
We're a great big rolling railroad, one that everybody knows. We were born of gold and silver spikes 100 years ago. We're a million miles of history, as shining in the sun. We're the Union Pacific, and our story's just begun. From the Great Plains of Nebraska to the California seas, from the summits of the Rockies to the mighty redwood trees, we're 1,000 wheels of freight train here, the diesel engine's power. We're the Union Pacific, doing 90 miles an hour.
I'm one of those weird people who just doesn't understand the autism of trains. I just don't get it.
Well, you say that, Harry, but you recently had your first train journey, didn't you? So how did you find that?
It was a train journey. It was just a train journey. I don't understand the fascination personally. But that's just me.
From the green fields of the prairies to the blue Pacific shore, we deliver your great cargo and come rolling home for more.
That's brilliant. I love this.
On the backbone of our nation, you can see us make the climb. We're the Union Pacific, and we're gonna be on time. From the green fields of the prairies to the blue Pacific shore, we deliver your great cargo and come rolling home for more. On the backbone of our nation, you can see us make the climb.
So
Okay,
then,
so
go on.
something I found
Hey.
interesting was that in so the time before medically transitioning to the
Every
opposite
story in
sex.
this book focuses on characters that aren't Edward.
Oh my god, why
Gordon
is my thing
the man
glitching?
in cows.
What the hell?
I can hear you, but for some reason that fucking tab that I closed was still playing. Oh, there we go, it stopped. You were saying?
Strange. So for male and females, the time before they transition to the opposite sex, for men, 66% of them were under 6 months, whereas it was only
Wow.
25% before um, before 6 months for females, which I think is quite significant.
Jesus
I
Christ.
think it speaks to the, how do I put it, the force of
Impulse
the male
control?
conviction.
Risk taking?
Yeah, yeah. So there's definitely something happening there in terms of men taking this up. It's almost as if they get the idea and then they just go for it. Although they could be the other thing, which is that in order to get the transition, they have to go through all the medical guidance and whatnot. And if, of course, the LGBT community who are doing these transitions hate men, a pretty effective way of hurting men is to chop off their dick. So mass sterilization, I guess. There is that way of thinking about it. But that was really interesting. I mean, there's a few other things here, which is that the majority of people socially transitioning are between 12 and 19, with a notable peak at 24. For men, it's basically at the age of 19 and the age of 24. So men are a little bit later on, whereas women are really early. Which is, I guess, because it's all a fad. Men just seem to be a little bit later on.
This, the levels of disgust just slowly rising in me.
So maybe, I don't know any data for this, maybe social contagion is most effective with men and women at different ages.
Yeah, yeah. Because
I
it's
don't have any
often be
information
said
to back
that
that up.
men
I'm
grow.
just. Yeah.
I think it's often being said that men grow up later on, so girls reach maturity at sort of like 15, 16, sort of, whereas boys are a little bit later. They don't really become men. Interestingly, it's about 80% women who are detransitioning, with only 20% men.
Well, I can understand that. I mean, if I had boobs, I'd probably want to keep them as well. So.
Well, yeah. I think it's also because women are a lot more sensitive to their bodily changes, whereas men have always been told, suck it up. So I think that's a part of it as well.
Oh.
But yeah, that's pretty bad. Wow. So most of the people who detransed became detrans were because of how do I put it, health issues, and they're very much unhappy with the bodily changes.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's interesting, but it's only the third most prominent reason, which is transitioning did not help with dysphoria, gender dysphoria, which kind of makes sense.
Weird because the suicide levels don't really drop that much, depending on which way you read the data from. But no one has good data on it. No, it's just either bad data, like bad outcomes, or worse outcomes. Like no one has good suicide data on people post transition. So, which is obviously supposed to be the cure, and that's why they say it's societal based, which is obviously both unfair but also true. You can't rely. You can't say it's someone else's fault that they didn't accept you into society because you changed, and that's why you want to commit suicide. And then the flip, but then also in transitioning, you basically introduce yourself to a social group so small that no one is interested in sharing their life with you, and then wonder why you don't feel good about it. Like there's no way out of that.
I also think it's because when they get into these trans communities, like, let's be honest, they're all suffering from gender dysphoria. They're all depressed. They all have some form of mental illness.
Well, some of them.
So-
I mean, some of them actually it's fine. Well, not fine, but they live with it fine. No, they live with it, I should say, and they live fairly normal lives. But obviously, for most of them, it's some other part of the spectrum that's not great.
Well, it's like single parenthood for me. Like the women that can't keep a man about are likely, more so than not, to be the kind of women that men don't want to be about. So the people
But
that
also,
transition
their children.
are more than
Yeah, but I thought you were going to make the connection that there are some children of those families who do really, really well for themselves, even though they don't, even with the worst possible chances. And there's other ones that don't do well, and overall, they don't do well, which is the same for people who transition. Some of them end up living fairly normal lives within reason, but for the most part, it doesn't end well.
So statistically speaking, the majority of them are not going to have good endings.
Oh fuck no.
But yeah, Jesus.
I guess we can't end on a good story, no?
Well, we do have the we do have the trains. If you want to end on that. Probably should have realised that shit would be depressing if nothing else.
Well, I can give you a little funny story, I guess.
Go ahead.
There's a notice on the fridges at work saying the first Sunday of every month they're going to clear them out.
Yeah.
It's to keep, it's obviously to keep the fridges looking pretty good. All they actually do is they just throw everything in there that's out of date. The problem I have is on several occasions I buy food over the weekend from the discount aisle normally. So I sometimes find on Sunday, I forget what Sunday it is, I go up to get my dinner and it's been put in the bin. So my solution to this, other than trying to tell the cleaners not to do it, because I don't always catch them, is to buy smiley face stickers. And you put smiley face stickers over all the sell-by dates on the food you leave in the fridge towards the end of the month or the first Sunday of the month. And then that way, your stuff doesn't get thrown in the bin because they can't tell what and they know now that obviously they see a smiley face on the thing, and it makes them laugh as well, so they don't forget it. So there you go. So I solved my food problem with smiley face stickers, and then I had to buy quite a few of them, so I gave the rest of them to a friend of mine who's a teacher in in primary school, so she can put them in all the because I don't need that many. So she can
Pretty cool.
use them at school. So there you go. Problem solving.
Really cool.
Clever. So, I'm not. Dude, this is an hour long. It's already late. Vulcan, you're great, man, but we're not watching the whole hour-long train thing. Come on, mate. There is this other one though. Oh, that's kind of short.
So Thomas the Tank Engine was not actually a very useful engine. And you know why?
Why?
So you got a big scary face on the front of them?
Well, aside from that, it kind of scares the kids, but you just aside from that, its wheelbase was too long, so it couldn't go around all the shunting bends within the shunting yards. So as a shunter, it's no good. As well as the fact that when you go onto the branch lines all in the valleys and in the country tracks and whatnot, they all have harsher turns that the wheelbase couldn't navigate. So ultimately, it was just restricted in what it could do because of its wheelbase and its tractive power. It also had a very small coal tender, so it couldn't go very far either.
I actually do have
So-
I do actually have this Thomas Tank Engine video if you want me to press play.
Yeah, why not?
Because we can get through these and then end the podcast, but the hour-long one, it's just like, dude, no.
Well, we'll just do this one.
Thomas is known as a really useful engine, a phrase so capitalised on that this video is likely going to get me in trouble for copyright infringement. In reality, however, the engine he was based off was, to put politely, bloody useless. When the old E1 locomotives on the London, Brighton and South Coast Railway were starting to get worn out, and with workloads only getting bigger and heavier, the company decided to order 5 new tank engines for shunting and hauling freight. These came in the form of the E2s in 1913. While the engines were good at shunting around their heavy goods and coaches, their water tanks were very small, so they had to refill often. When the second batch of 5 was ordered, they were given slightly bigger water tanks to help them while working. Despite this, they were still unsuitable for pulling freight trains as they had relatively small bunkers, meaning they couldn't go far before needing to be topped up. 2 were tried on a push-pull passenger service, however they were found to be inadequate due to the engines oscillating while travelling at speed, causing an uncomfortable ride, and the limited range they had because of their bunkers. After the LB and SCR became part of Southern Rail in 1924, the engines were moved to various marshalling yards to do the work of engines that were either too old or not suitable for the job of shunting. In the 50s, they were moved to Southampton docks by British Rail to work as shunters loading and unloading ships. Even then, they weren't best suited for the job either, as they had a 16-foot wheelbase, meaning they were limited to certain areas of the docks due to the tight turns and curves of the track. At the same time, the USA tanks that were working the same docks had a 10-foot wheelbase, meaning they were better suited for the tighter turns of the docks than the E2s. In summary, the engines were, as stated in the beginning, useless. They were only fit for shunting despite being built with pulling freight trains in mind, and even then they weren't very good at that either because of their insufficient fuel capacity. Reportedly, braking on the engines was hard too, with the air brakes engaging sharply and the engine's brakes being rather poor, which was one of the inspirations behind the story of Thomas and the trucks. It's no surprise really that all of them were scrapped once they were replaced. They were just too large to be practical shunters and couldn't travel long distances to work as goods or passenger engines. So if you happen to catch anyone calling Thomas a really useful engine, then you can now confidently state that that phrase is complete bull. Subscribe for more.
Okay. I actually
So
didn't
yeah, Thomas
know
the Tank
mechanically.
Engine.
I didn't know mechanically that if the wheels were too big, it couldn't fucking turn right. But as I
Yeah.
sort of tried to picture it in my mind, it is making sense.
So imagine trying to push a rectangle round, how do I put it, a square hole that's only a little bit bigger. You're going to get to a point where on the inside, it's going to touch the inside of the rectangle, and on the outside of the bend, it's touching the 2 furthest points, and it's just going to get sandwiched. Now, when you increase the severity of the bend to the point where it can no longer turn or move, it just gets wedged. And in the case of a train, it just derails or breaks the rails. But yeah,
Breaks the fucking rails. Shit.
it's one of the reasons that like the A4 Pacifics or any of the big steam trains, they weren't used as shunters. They weren't used for branch lines. That's one of the reasons, because the bends were too harsh.
Huh.
Interestingly, so in Britain we had very good sets of rails, in the meaning that when a train was going down the rails, there wasn't much play in them, so they wouldn't wobble left or right. The train would stay rather steady. In the USA, though, this was a much bigger problem. So the trains in the USA were designed to handle larger oscillations in the track. So they were designed to handle a track of greater wear and tear.
Right.
Which is often why USA trains didn't go as fast as British trains. Because we had like plenty of trains, especially in almost the final eras of steam power.
This sounds like
almost
a classic engineering issue that Americans have had for decades. That they don't. It's partially because they didn't have such tight tolerances on various machines, and then also they had a massive favor towards labor over any machine doing the job. So this is a problem we had with their vehicles that we got in Afghanistan. So we got one of their Huskies, and with the Husky, you had to, with other vehicles, you could take a door off and you could put the door on another vehicle, and it would fit as long as obviously it was the correct door. But you couldn't do that with things like the Husky because it was hand fitted by Joe and his brother in a factory in Utah, and it was fitted for that particular thing because the tolerances, because it wasn't German tolerances. If you took that door off, you couldn't fit it behind, even if it was supposed to, because it would be out. So you always, so you had to fit them back where they went. You couldn't. You had to get it right, and it was to do with just their and it, obviously it's partially down to like labor unions and stuff like that. But because they're not, honestly back then it wasn't that when the trains were being made back then, it wasn't that they didn't use robots to build them and other people did, but it's kind of a consequence of the same thing, which is why why they were built with the idea of not having quite the same tolerances in the track. I can imagine Russian trains were probably made very similarly. Which if you've got like a country that big and the distances you have to travel, like I can see the point of it, because you don't have to be that accurate, because you're producing, you need to produce infinitely more to produce to get the outcomes you need. Whereas in a small island, it's not the same economics doesn't really work. You don't need massive volume to resolve your issue. You need a much smaller volume, but so you can be a little bit more picky in these aspects.
Well, I think the beauty of Britain is that we're so small that almost against every railway track there's a road. So we can jump onto that railway track in like a day and fix it. Or correct a depression or something like that. We can do that. But in the US or Russia, it could take them a week or a month to organize a work party to go out and fix, what's the word I'm looking for? Depressions in the track. So, yeah, it would make sense for them to build less stable tracks, but longer wearing.
Yeah, because in the same way that was the beauty of something like a V8 engine in America, is that the tolerances aren't as tight, but you don't, when you're cruising long distance, you want an engine that's not going to wear down over time. It's just going to keep going and going and going at a slightly lower tolerance than something at a much higher tolerance that should give you much higher performance, but the engine will need changing before the car is really due for scrapping. So it's kind of which is funny because ironically for their roads they kind of have the opposite problem, because over the countless years the Americans have had roads, they've had infinitely more roads than they've had vehicles because of the size of the thing, which is why some of their roads seem in such good condition, because they have infinitely less traffic traveling most of those roads most of the time compared to say something like the UK, where we have it, for the number of cars traveling over any average on the average piece of road in the UK is much higher than it is in the US. So, which is hilarious because obviously when they say in America that their roads aren't up to standard, and you see some of these roads, and it's like you'd kill for that kind of quality of road in this country. Or they've got they've got 7 lanes or whatever. Again, they won't need as they will still need maintenance, but the maintenance won't be as high because you have maintenance that's required over time because of like things like weather, and then you have maintenance that's time required because of the amount of use that road sees, and most of those roads do not see the use that we get over here. I mean, I guess trucks play their part, but yeah, it's like a completely different. You know, they have roads, they have trucks, they have trains, but the mathematics behind all that to make it work are completely different.
Oh, we do have
Because
another
essentially,
another
we're
train
the size
video,
of
by
the
the way.
state. Oh God.
Oh, I'm
Who
sorry.
keeps posting these train? I actually don't even know why I asked the question. Who keeps posting these train videos? Because it's fairly obvious.
So my only question is, but
Not
have you
just
heard
me.
about? Do you know about the trouble for Kansas roads?
No.
Again, the trouble.
Oh, by the way,
So
Danish,
the
if you
problem-
stick along, I'm
Yeah.
going to put on the hell is it called, Squid Game on the TV channel because I've never watched it before.
Okay. I'm about to go work at a fireworks stand, so I don't think I can do that. But
Never mind. The offer was there.
Well,
Though.
Danish, it was nice knowing you.
Yeah.
I hope things go with a bang, and
Yeah.
good luck.
Don't worry. I've done it for like 6 years. It's fine.
You know, lucky number 7 and all that.
In fact, I actually have some fun stuff for you from last time.
Oh, great! So you've got some out of date fireworks. This is just getting better and better. What could possibly go wrong?
So what do you think these are?
Oh, let's
I can't see. Hold on.
Wait a
One
minute.
moment. And I don't
I'm
think-
going to set it up so that anyone who watches the podcast at some point can see it. Give me a minute.
I know what they are. I think.
Are they cherry bombs?
So what these are little tablets of magnesium in little sheets so that they flash repeatedly. And I have.
Do they come with an epilepsy warning?
Oh yes, they do. Anyway, my plan's to get a can of Monster, and one of the big tall ones, and fill it with the rest of the bag. That's what I did with the other half of the bag. It used to be full. But yeah,
And no one died the first time, yeah?
Yeah, it went great the first time. There was no can left to clean up when I was done, which granted, a whole bunch of magnesium will do that. For the stream people, these are what I'm talking about. Black Cat magnesium flashers. But yeah, working at a fireworks stand is fun. And these are the leftovers from last year. So
I love the way you just throw them around, and in my mind, I'm like, that's probably not a good idea. But I know they're safe. I just, you know.
It's so
in my
the stuff
mind,
I
it's
was
like-
throwing around was literally they're called snakes, and they're like little tablets of sulfur. So they you light them and they burn and grow. And my mom really likes them, and we were told that they were going to be discontinued. So my mom bought a whole bunch of them because she's a little obsessive.
Sounds good. Sounds very good.
Has he gone?
I don't think so.
No, I'm just have push to talk because I'm on my phone.
Oh, right.
So anyway, the final train video though, but I do love the fireworks.
Awesome.
But the final train video is this one, the 611 Class J. I don't know what that means.
Those are really beautiful steam trains.
Out of the Blue Ridge Mountains came a streamlined machine.
Now, interestingly, Britain's big on coal-fired went out to oil.
Right.
So these steam trains are fired by oil, which means that you don't have to
Harry,
shovel them
just-
in.
Sorry.
Keep playing it while he talks. In worst case scenario, you can just mute it in the video.
Sorry, I didn't think of that.
611 Class J.
Now you'll notice on this steam train that
Yeah.
you've got 4 driving wheels either side.
Right.
Now that's for the great attractive effort, because most steam trains, they only sit on the tracks on something about the size of a penny. So there's a very limited space that you can actually apply attractive effort, being the friction between the driving wheels and the track, which I find very interesting. Now, if you take a look at a picture of the big boy, you'll notice the big boy is fairly unique because it's got 2 sets of driving wheels, and the front set is articulated from the back. Hence, because it's so large, it needs to be articulated so it can go around the bends.
Okay.
But yeah, it's really quite interesting. I don't know how the boiler's set up on it, though. I would imagine that the steam would have been piped through into the articulated cylinders, but I'm just speculating on that. But I must admit, of all the American steam trains, this is by far one of the most beautiful, and that's saying a lot for American steam trains.
Fair enough.
Now, so I was thinking about this the other day. When it comes to the rolling stock of the old railways, Britain exported a lot of our customs in steam train terms to a lot of other countries. But when it came to the carriages, the passenger cabs, we really didn't know what to do. So we basically just turned up to the old carriage makers when I basically need a carriage for a train. What can you do? So they just imported all the old carriage traditions into passenger trains. But we didn't really innovate in passenger trains like we did with the steam train. So a lot of our sort of, if you will, final steam passenger wagons, trains, whatnot, a lot of those have traditions imported from the US, such as that central extension along the ridge of the passenger trains with, I presume it's for airflow, but that was an American export, if you wish.
I see. No, it is actually. I actually quite like how much passion you've got for this. I'm not gonna lie.
I try my best. I should really read more, to be fair.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I still have to get started. I have not made as much progress on my fucking essay as I wish I could have done, but I'll get there in the end with it.
What are you doing an essay on, Harry?
Oh, well, before we end, effectively to demonstrate that you can do the physical side, sure, but do you also have, like, the knowledge aspect of stuff as well? For this upcoming grading I'm doing, I've got to write an essay on the fundamentals of Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. Which, it's a case, okay, so, I should probably get started on making more progress on it.
So is it like a 3,000 word essay? Or what do you
Didn't
have to
say
say?
specific length, but a thing that you notice that a lot of people have done in the past, because sometimes in the past people would want to take a look at other people's essays. For a lot of people just copy and paste off Wikipedia, and he fucking automatically, like, Sensei's just say like no. It's like you can obviously tell. It's like, okay, yep, that's Wikipedia, and no, you obviously didn't actually do any of this. You're not getting through. Like, actually fucking do it yourself, kind of thing.
So I have a bit of a story related to that.
Yeah. Did his mic cut out, or did he just literally say Aya and then nothing else?
He did
Sorry.
disappear. Yeah.
Okay, no. I pushed the talk just sucks on my phone. Anyway, I had to do a talk on my local town for the Boy Scouts, and so did another one of the Scouts. And it turns out we copy pasted the exact same article.
You fucking idiots.
No.
But I went first.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
So who got in trouble for it, or was it both of you?
What? Oh, no. The requirement for the advancement was to do with speech. They didn't care about who wrote it.
Nice.
I have a little bit of bias though on this essay that I'm doing, because it's a case of like, ooh, I'm a defensive person sort of thing. So it's like, ooh, I think the fundamentals of Japanese Jiu-Jitsu are being defensive. It's like, okay, right, okay, I've got a bias here, and that might get in the way of me doing it properly.
So, what I find very useful is to disengage my emotional aspect when I'm writing. Think of it like this. So, when you're walking about and you're living, you're just Harry. But when you go to, in a sense, have an intellectual argument with yourself, you have to remove yourself from reality, in a sense. You have to become that sort of godly figure looking down on yourself. If that makes sense.
I see. But I do kind of find it funny though, just seeing my own bias sort of slipping into it. If nothing else. With that said, though, I think we've gone on long enough to end the podcast now. Oh, hello. What the fuck? Bleach Demon actually just leave a message. Fuck me. Let me get a look at this properly. Bleach, why you could have come on the thing. The 611 is still used as an expiration train in the US. The pull car, the Pullman car. I don't know about that. I'm not the one who does the trains. You'd have to take that one up for Vulcan, admittedly. But that's.
I think that message was more for Vulcan than you. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But thanks for coming here, though, Bleach. Thanks for coming here.
Yeah, so it's used a lot like the Bittern and the Flying Scotsman excursion trains, like our hobby railways, sort of, So it's used like that, but in the US.
Gotcha.
Which, I mean, fantastic. I'd love to take a ride of it one day.
Yeah.
Vulcan, I'll have to show you my fucking basement one of these days. There's about 100 model trains down there. I shit you not.
Anyway, though, I guess that's the end of the podcast then, I guess. And Shadilay, everyone.
Shadilay.